Have you ever caught yourself doing something so strange that if someone saw you, you would probably pretend it never happened? Maybe you rehearse conversations in the shower. Maybe you suddenly remember something embarrassing from years ago and whisper, "Why did I do that?" Maybe you pace around your room while imagining a completely different life. Or maybe you check your phone every few minutes, even though you know there are no new messages. They're odd, they're irrational, and yet millions of people do them every single day. Most of us call them bad habits or quirks, but psychologists often see something different. They see clues. Because behind every strange habit is usually a hidden emotional need. Your brain rarely does things without a reason. Sometimes it's trying to comfort you, sometimes it's trying to protect you, and sometimes it's trying to heal wounds you didn't even realize you had. Tonight, we're going to explore some of the strangest habits people have and the fascinating psychology behind them. You may discover that the habit you've always been ashamed of isn't weird at all. It may simply be your mind's quiet way of asking for help. The boy who never stopped talking to himself. When Liam was a child, his mother often heard him talking in his bedroom. She assumed he was playing. Years later, nothing had changed. At 26, Liam still talked to himself, sometimes while cooking, sometimes while driving, sometimes while walking home from work. If someone walked by, he immediately became silent. He worried people would think he was losing his mind. But what they didn't know was that these weren't random conversations. Sometimes he was encouraging himself. Sometimes he was practicing difficult conversations. Sometimes he was simply trying to understand what he was feeling. One afternoon, after making a mistake at work, he quietly said, "It's okay, you'll do better tomorrow." No one else was there, but somehow, those words helped. Psychologists have found that talking to yourself is surprisingly common. In fact, it can improve focus, regulate emotions, and reduce stress. When athletes encourage themselves during competitions, researchers call it positive self-talk. Parents naturally comfort frightened children with gentle words. As adults, we often stop receiving that comfort. So eventually, we become the voice ourselves. Talking to yourself doesn't necessarily mean you're lonely. Sometimes it means you're learning how to become your own safe place. The girl who lived inside. Imaginary conversations. Emma had an unusual evening routine. After work, she would lie on her bed and imagine conversations. Some were arguments she wished she'd won. Some were apologies she wished she'd received. Others were interviews where she finally said exactly the right thing. Hours could disappear this way. She wasn't escaping reality, she was rewriting it. Have you ever done this? Maybe someone criticized you. Hours later, you suddenly think of the perfect response. Your brain keeps replaying the moment over and over. Why? Because the human brain dislikes unfinished emotional experiences. Psychologists sometimes refer to this tendency as the mind's drive to complete unresolved experiences. When something feels emotionally incomplete, your brain keeps returning to it, not to torture you, but to make sense of it. It's trying to prepare you, to protect you, to make sure next time you'll be ready. Sometimes the conversation isn't really about the other person. It's about becoming the version of yourself who finally feels heard. The next time you notice one of your strange little habits, don't rush to judge yourself. Instead, ask a different question. What emotion is this habit trying to comfort? You might be surprised by the answer. Because healing rarely begins with forcing yourself to stop. It begins with understanding why you started. The strangest habits often belong to people who have spent years quietly carrying invisible emotions. Not because they're broken, but because they're human. Your habits tell a story, your emotions tell another, and somewhere between the two, you'll often find yourself. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this psychology story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who has ever wondered, why do I do that? Until next time, take care of your mind, be kind to yourself, and remember, sometimes the strangest habits are simply the quiet language of a heart trying to heal.